Police probe gang killing. Detectives were last night investigating a gangland-style execution after a body, believed to be that of a missing Essex motor dealer, was found in his Range Rover. And it was revealed that they were liaising with officers working on other major investigations, including the triple shooting at Rettendon last year. Police were unable to positively confirm the man's body was that of 35-year-old John Marshall, as they moved it from Essex from South East London under heavy security. But sources last night suggested that the victim was the missing motor dealer and that he had suffered gunshot wounds in an apparent gangland-style execution. A post-mortem was due to be carried out late last night. Asked if detectives were considering any links with the triple shooting at Rettendon near Chelmsford last year, an Essex police spokesman said, "We have got no direct evidence that Mr. Marshall was connected in any way with the drugs world. We will obviously be following up that line of inquiry, along with other lines of inquiry. It is understood that officers are liaising with colleagues on other major investigations, of which Rettendon is only one." 2 men appeared before Chelmsford magistrates at the weekend, charged with the murders of Patrick Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe. Mr. Marshall's Black G registration Range Rover was found at Sydenham yesterday at 9:15. A covered dead body was found inside. A police spokesman said that although the body was discovered in the Metropolitan Police District, Essex officers would be handling the investigation. Mr. Marshall, a motor trader from Billericay, went missing a week ago, carrying about £5,000 in cash. His wife Tony grew concerned for his well-being after he failed to contact her or any of their 3 children. He was last heard of heading for Kent in his Range Rover, although the reason for his trip is not known, and missed his 35th birthday celebrations last Saturday. Body in car linked to Rage Road killer. The body of a murder victim was yesterday found in his car just 10 miles from the scene of the road rage killing of Stephen Cameron. John Marshall was discovered in the back of his black G-Reg Range Rover Vogue, which is similar to the vehicle driven by the man who stabbed Stephen to death. Last night, detectives from both investigations were comparing notes. One officer said, "It may be sheer coincidence, but the incidents happened just 10 miles apart and involved fairly unusual, yet near identical vehicles." Mr. Marshall's body was found in South London, close to the M25 interchange, where Stephen was murdered on Sunday. Police believe Mr. Marshall was killed the previous day, but cannot rule out the possibility that his car was used by Stephen's murderer. The car dealer was last seen alive on Wednesday last week when he left his home in Billericay, Essex, carrying around £5,000 in cash. Mr. Marshall, married with 3 children, is thought to have been stabbed. The money was missing. Last night, detectives were checking to see if the death was connected with the murder of 3 drug dealers in Essex. Gangsters Tony Tucker, Pat Tate and Craig Rolfe were all shot dead in a blue Range Rover in a quiet lane just 5 miles from Mr. Marshall's home. Last week, 2 men were charged in connection with the murders. Killer left £5,000 in victim's vehicle. Murdered car dealer John Marshall was shot twice by his killer and dumped into bales of straw in the boot of his own Range Rover, police said. Mr. Marshall, 35 of Billericay, is understood to have been murdered on the same day he disappeared, shot once in the head and once in the chest. Essex police, who moved the body in black car from a residential street in Sydenham, South East London for forensic examination, said the killer left behind £5,000 on the dashboard. Detective Superintendent Mike Gamley said the type of firearm used has still to be established, but it was not a shotgun. Police would not link the shooting with recent cases in Essex. 2 men have recently been charged with a gangland-style execution of 3 known drug dealers last December at Rettendon. But Mr. Gamley said that in Essex car dealing circles, it is unlikely Mr. Marshall had not met at least one of the victims in the course of the business. One of the men killed last year was Pat Tate, a known ecstasy dealer who also worked in the car trade. Detective Sergeant Gamble said, "Mr. Marshall was a businessman, and we have nothing to suggest that he was anything other than an honest man. His past does not seem to be relevant in this investigation." Mr. Marshall, a father of 2 daughters and a 6-year-old son, left home last Wednesday after telling his wife Tony he was going to Kent on business. Police are now checking roadside cameras at the Dartford Tunnel and other Thames River crossings in the hope of spotting the distinctive vehicle. Detective Superintendent Gamble said the marshals kept several horses and the Range Rover was used to carry straw for the animals. Both car and body were loaded onto a transporter and moved to a forensic site at South Wood in Ferris. Forensic experts were going over the vehicle inch by inch yesterday looking for clues. Detective Gamble said, Mr. Marsh had been shot in areas which suggest there was no running. There is nothing to suggest he'd been tied up. The killing could be because a car deal went wrong, but we have to interview his business associates and many other people to try to find a motive. The motive is critical to the case. Detective Gamble added, Mrs. Marshall has been living in hope for a week, and that hope was shattered yesterday. She is in a state of shock. She will cooperate fully with the investigation when she is able.